Anna's champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips when Luca Carbone rolled directly toward her through the laughing crowd. Crystal chandeliers washed the ballroom in amber light, catching on black tuxedos, diamond earrings, and the polished rims of Luca's wheelchair. A string quartet played near the marble staircase, but beneath the violins came the quieter sounds that followed Luca everywhere now. The whisper of rubber tires over hardwood, the soft mechanical click of his brakes, the sudden lowering of voices as he passed. Anna Whitmore stood beside the fireplace in a silver evening dress, surrounded by guests who had known Luca before the chair. Before people rushed to hold doors he had not asked them to hold. Before men who once waited for his permission began leaning down to explain things he already understood. She had been telling a story when Luca approached. "Careful," Anna had said, watching an attendant move a chair from his path. Another 6 months of everyone doing everything for Luca, and he'll forget how to run anything himself. Two men laughed. One woman covered a smile with her champagne flute. Luca stopped 6 feet away. Anna saw him and lifted one shoulder. "Come on, Luca. You used to have a sense of humor." The quartet continued playing, but the people nearest them had gone still. Luca wore a midnight black dinner jacket tailored precisely across his broad shoulders. His dark hair was combed back, silver beginning at the temples. One hand rested loosely on the wheel rim. The other adjusted his cuff as calmly as if Anna had commented on the wine. "Did I?" he asked. Anna smiled. "You were certainly more fun when people had to chase you across a room." Another nervous laugh escaped somewhere behind her. Luca's eyes moved toward the sound. It vanished. Anna took a sip. The champagne smelled sharp and citrusy in the warm room. "Don't look at them like that. I'm teasing you." Luca rolled forward. For feet. Then 3. Anna's smile tightened. "What?" He stopped directly in front of her. Because he was seated, she had to lower her gaze, and for the first time that evening the gesture looked less like superiority than discomfort. Luca noticed. "You think the chair changed what you're looking at?" "I didn't say that. You've spent 10 minutes saying it." Anna glanced toward the surrounding guests. "Luca, everyone understands what you've been through." His fingers closed around the cool metal rim. "Do they? People are trying to make things easier for you. Without asking. Because sometimes you need help. Sometimes." Luca's voice stayed level. "And sometimes I need people to remember they are speaking to me, not around me." Anna set her glass down too quickly. Crystal clicked against marble. "This is exactly what I mean. Everything becomes so serious with you now." She gestured toward his wheelchair. "Before all this, you walked into a room and people knew exactly who you were. Now everyone has to pretend nothing has changed." The quartet reached the end of the song. The final violin note faded. Luca looked at Anna for a long moment. Then he released his brakes. He moved closer until barely a foot remained between them. No bodyguard stepped forward. No one dared interrupt. The fireplace snapped softly behind Anna, sending the smell of burning oak into the silence. Luca lifted his chin, forcing her eyes away from the wheelchair and onto his face. When he spoke, he did not raise his voice. He made her come closer to hear it. "I'm still a man, Anna." Her hand froze beside the champagne glass. Luca held her gaze. "My legs changed. My judgment didn't. My name didn't. My right to decide when I need help didn't." Anna opened her mouth, but nothing came. Luca turned his chair smoothly, and the crowd parted before him exactly as it once had when his shoes crossed these floors. At the ballroom doors, however, he stopped. Without looking back, he spoke into the silence Anna had created. "Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. My office." Anna stared after him. Luca rested one hand on the wheel. "If you still believe this chair made me less of a man," he said, "come tell me when there's nobody here to laugh for you." Edit by 9 the next morning. Luca had already refused help 6 times, and every refusal had sounded more patient than the offer deserved. The Carbone mansion's east wing was quiet beneath soft, recessed lights, with the smell of dark espresso drifting from the kitchen and the muted click of Luca's wheelchair crossing polished walnut floors. A houseman hurried ahead toward the library doors. "I've got it, Mr. Carbone." Luca reached the brass handle first. "So do I." The man stepped back. 10 minutes later, an associate moved to pull Luca's chair away from his desk. Luca locked the wheels with one sharp click. "What are you doing?" "Just getting you closer, boss." "Did I ask?" "No, then don't." The associate withdrew his hands. Luca positioned himself using the wheel rims, opened a leather folder, and continued reviewing contracts as if nothing had happened. This was the part nobody understood. Before the accident, people waited for Luca to ask before they acted. Now they anticipated needs he had never expressed. Coffee appeared with straws he never requested. Meetings were shortened without consulting him. Men who once spoke in clipped, direct sentences now bent at the waist and softened their voices as though the wheelchair had somehow affected his hearing. At 9:42, his attorney entered carrying documents. We can postpone the Bronx meeting if today is difficult. Luca's fountain pen stopped. Why would today be difficult? I only meant, I know what you meant. Luca signed the page. The nib scratched crisply across heavy paper. Keep the meeting. The attorney nodded and left. Luca looked toward the tall windows. Morning traffic moved beyond the iron gates, tires hissing over damp pavement. On the glass, his reflection showed the same broad shoulders, the same dark suit, the same face men had watched carefully for years. Only the frame beneath him had changed. At exactly 10, heels struck the hallway outside. Anna entered without waiting for an invitation. Gone was the silver evening dress. She wore a camel coat over a black tailored suit, her hair pinned neatly behind her shoulders. Cold air followed her inside, carrying the faint scent of expensive perfume. You summoned me. Luca closed his folder. I invited you to finish what you started. Anna removed her gloves. I made a bad joke. You made several. And you embarrassed me in front of everyone. Luca's hand settled on the wheel rim. Interesting. What? You remember your embarrassment. Anna exhaled through her nose. I came here to apologize. Then apologize. She paused. I'm sorry you took it personally. Luca's expression did not move. The clock above the fireplace ticked twice. That isn't an apology. Anna looked away. You've become impossible. No, I've become inconvenient. He rolled around the desk and stopped directly across from her. There's a difference. Anna folded her gloves tighter. People are trying to help you, Luca. There it is again. What? You're talking about me as though I'm a problem everyone else has been assigned to manage. Anna's gaze dropped toward the chair. Luca caught it immediately. Eyes up, her chin lifted. Don't order me around. Then stop talking down to me. Silence settled between them, broken only by the fireplace and the soft hum of the heating vents. Luca rolled toward a side table where a heavy crystal water pitcher waited. Anna stepped forward instinctively. Let me. Luca raised one hand. No. Luca, don't be ridiculous. He reached for the pitcher himself. It required an awkward angle. His sleeve brushed the cool glass, and water shifted heavily inside. Anna moved again. I said no. Luca steadied the pitcher, poured a glass without spilling, and returned it to the tray. The crystal touched wood with a control. Edit at 11 sharp. Anna watched three powerful men address Luca's bodyguard instead of Luca. The conference room occupied the mansion's west wing, where dark walnut walls absorbed the pale morning light, and a low fire snapped behind smoked glass. Fresh espresso scented the warm air. Luca sat at the head of the long table in a charcoal suit, his wheelchair positioned exactly where an executive chair once stood, while Anna remained near the windows as he had instructed. Dominic Vale, one of Luca's senior associates, placed a leather folder on the table. We adjusted the Bronx meeting schedule, Dominic told the bodyguard beside Luca. Mr. Carbone won't need to stay for the full session. Luca's fingers stopped against the folder. Mr. Carbone is sitting 3 feet from you. Dominic turned. Boss, I only meant, speak to me. Of course. Dominic cleared his throat. We shortened the agenda to 40 minutes. Who authorized that? Nobody answered. Anna shifted against the cool window glass. Yesterday, she might have called the silence considerate. Today she noticed something else. No one had asked Luca whether he was tired. They had simply decided he must be. Luca opened the folder. Restore the original agenda. Dominic hesitated. 2 hours might be uncomfortable. Luca's eyes lifted. For whom? The espresso machine hissed from the adjoining room. Dominic looked down. Luca turned 1 page. 2 hours. Understood. The meeting began. 20 minutes later, a map was spread across the table. Luca rolled closer, but a chair blocked the narrow space beside him. Before he could reach it, Anna crossed the room. Her hand touched the chair back. Luca looked at her. She stopped. The polished wood felt cool beneath her fingers. Do you want this moved? She asked. Luca held her gaze for a beat. Yes. Anna moved it 4 feet aside. Nothing more. No hand on his wheelchair. No apology. Luca rolled forward himself. Thank you. The two words landed differently than all the forced politeness Anna had heard around him. 40 minutes became 70. Luca questioned costs, rejected a proposal, rewrote 2 deadlines, and caught a 6-figure discrepancy no one else at the table had noticed. His voice never rose. Papers moved when he told them to move. Men stopped speaking when he lifted one finger. Anna watched from the window as the chair beneath him became less noticeable with every decision. Then Dominic pushed a contract toward Luca's bodyguard. Have someone review this with him later. Luca did not reach for it. Why later? Dominic's face tightened. It's dense material. Anna's head turned. Luca's expression remained perfectly still. I negotiated the original contract. I know. Then why would someone need to review my own agreement with me? Dominic looked toward the others. We're trying to reduce unnecessary strain. Luca closed the folder with a flat crack. Meeting over. Chairs shifted. Dominic began collecting his papers. Boss, not you. Everyone stopped. Luca pointed toward the door. Everyone except Dominic and Anna. The room emptied. When the heavy doors closed, Luca rolled to the far side of the table and pulled a sealed envelope from beneath the contract. This arrived yesterday. He slid it toward Dominic. Your revised management structure. Dominic's face changed. Anna stepped closer. Luca continued. You reassigned 3 approvals from my office to yours. Temporarily. Without asking me. You need time to recover. Luca's hand settled on the wheel rim. My physician decides what my body needs. I decide what my organization needs. Dominic swallowed. I was protecting you. No. You were replacing me politely. Luca pushed the envelope back across the table. The restructuring is canceled. Effective immediately, every authority you transferred returns to this office. Dominic stared at him. You'd remove my authority over this? Luca's voice dropped. I already did. Dominic left without another word. The door shut. Anna remained beside the table, staring at the empty chair she had moved earlier. Luca turned toward her. Well, Anna looked directly into his eyes this time. I was wrong about something. Only one thing. She ignored that. Yesterday, I thought people were helping because you needed more help. Her fingers traced the edge of the walnut table. They're taking decisions away from you and calling it kindness. Luca said nothing. Anna picked up the abandoned contract and placed it directly in front of him. Not beside his guard, not at the edge of the table, but within Luca's reach. I see the difference now. Luca opened the document. Good. Anna started toward the door, then stopped. Luca. He looked up. Next time someone tries to speak around you, she said. I'm not standing quietly by the window. Luca's eyes stayed on hers. Then tomorrow night, he said. Sit beside me at dinner and prove it. Anna took the seat beside Luca at dinner, and within 20 minutes, she became the one making the cruelest joke in the room. 12 guests surrounded the long mahogany table beneath amber chandeliers, silverware clicking against porcelain while roasted garlic and red wine scented the warm dining room. Luca occupied the head of the table, his wheelchair fitted naturally beneath the cleared space, one hand resting beside his water glass. Anna sat to his right. At first, she did exactly what she had promised. When a guest asked Luca's attorney whether Luca would attend a Manhattan fundraiser, Anna cut in before the attorney answered. Luca is sitting right there. The guest flushed. Of course. Luca, I'll attend, Luca said. His eyes briefly met Anna's. She gave the smallest nod. Later, when a server reached over Luca to cut his food without being asked, Anna quietly touched the man's sleeve. Let him tell you what he needs. Luca said nothing, but his fingers tapped once against the table. Approval. Then dessert arrived. The room loosened. Bourbon appeared. Conversations grew louder, and orange firelight flickered across crystal glasses. Someone mentioned an old charity race Luca had once won against 3 associates through Central Park. Carbone cheated, one man said. He had a driver waiting halfway. I won by 4 minutes, Luca replied. Because you threatened everyone into running slower, Anna said. Laughter moved around the table. Luca's mouth almost curved. For a few minutes, it felt like the kind of teasing they had shared years earlier. Then Anna pushed too far. Well, she said, swirling the bourbon in her glass. At least nobody has to worry about racing you now. The laughter stopped unevenly. One man still chuckled before realizing no one had joined him. Anna's smile remained for half a second too long. Luca's hand went still beside his glass. The fireplace popped behind him. Somewhere in the kitchen, a tray struck a counter with a metallic clatter. Anna lowered her drink. Luca, finish it. His voice was quiet. It was a joke. Then finish the joke. Nobody touched dessert. Anna's cheeks warmed beneath the chandelier light. I didn't mean anything by it. Luca rolled back 6 inches from the table. The rubber tires whispered over the rug. That seems to be your favorite defense. You were laughing 2 seconds ago. At something funny. Anna looked around at the guests, searching for an escape from the attention she had created. You can't expect everyone to treat the chair like it doesn't exist. I've never asked anyone to. Then what do you want? Accuracy. Luca unlocked one wheel and turned toward her. If you want to joke about my terrible temper, do it. My suits, my schedule, the fact that I believe 12 minutes early is on time. Go ahead. A few guests lowered their eyes. But when the joke is simply that I cannot walk, what exactly am I supposed to laugh at? Anna's fingers tightened around the stem of her glass. I said I'm sorry. No. You said you didn't mean anything. Luca's gaze stayed level. Those are different sentences. Anna pushed her chair back. You know what? Maybe everyone walks on eggshells because you make every mistake around you into a trial. Luca's face hardened. And maybe you keep calling humiliation humor because admitting what you're doing would require you to change. Anna stood. I defended you tonight. I noticed. I corrected people. Yes. And one bad joke erases all of that. Luca rolled away from the table and stopped directly before her. No. It reveals that you understand respect perfectly when you're watching someone else fail to show it. The words landed harder than anger would have. Anna looked down at him. Luca noticed her gaze drop to the chair again. There, he said softly. You did it again. Anna's eyes snapped back to his. Luca reached for his water glass, lifted it himself, and drank before setting it down with a clean crystal click. Dinner is over. The guests began rising. Anna remained where she stood. Luca turned toward the doorway, then stopped. Tomorrow, Anna, don't come here to defend me. His hands settled on the wheel rims. Come only if you're finally ready to learn how to respect me. Anna returned the next afternoon and found Luca alone at the bottom of the library ramp, reaching for a leather portfolio that had slipped onto the floor. Gray daylight pressed against the tall windows, and the room carried the dry scent of old books and cedar smoke from the fireplace. The portfolio lay barely 2 feet away, but its brass clasp had landed against the baseboard beyond Luca's comfortable reach. Anna crossed the rug automatically. I'll get it. Luca raised one hand. Don't. She stopped. It's right there. I can see it. Luca repositioned his wheelchair, the rubber tires gripping the thick rug with a muted rasp. He leaned sideways and reached. His fingertips brushed leather, but the portfolio slid another inch. Anna stepped forward. Luca, this is ridiculous. Then watching should be easy. His voice remained controlled, but the muscles along his forearm tightened as he adjusted the chair again. Anna's hand hovered at her side. Everything in her wanted to close those 2 feet, pick up the portfolio, and end the awkwardness. Then she remembered the water pitcher, the chair at the meeting, the way people kept deciding that difficulty meant incapacity. She lowered her hand. Luca hooked 2 fingers beneath the portfolio strap and pulled it toward him. The brass clasp scraped softly across the walnut floor. He lifted it onto his lap. There. Anna exhaled. That took 30 seconds. 26. I could have done it in 2. Luca brushed dust from the leather. And then the choice would have been yours. Anna looked at him. You'd rather struggle? Sometimes. Why? Luca rolled toward the desk. Because being slower is not the same as being helpless. Anna followed. And if you actually need help? He placed the portfolio beside a stack of contracts. I ask. She stood across from him beneath the warm brass desk lamp. What if you don't ask because you're too proud? Luca looked up. Then you can offer once. And if you say no? Believe me. The simplicity of it silenced her. A knock sounded at the library door. A houseman entered carrying Luca's coat. Car is ready, sir. I told the driver we should use the side entrance. Fewer stairs. Luca's eyes narrowed. I used the front entrance. The side ramp is easier. I know. The houseman hesitated. I thought that was the problem. Before Luca could continue, Anna turned toward the man. He said the front. The houseman looked at her, then back at Luca. Yes, sir. When he left, Luca reached for his coat. Anna almost took it from him. Almost. Instead, she asked, want a hand? Luca glanced at her. with the sleeve. Anna stepped behind him. She held the coat steady while Luca guided his arms through it himself. The wool felt heavy and cool beneath her fingers. No grabbing. No pulling. No pretending he could not participate in dressing his own body. When the coat settled across his shoulders, Luca adjusted the collar. "Thank you." Anna walked beside him through the foyer. At the front entrance, 2 stone steps separated the doorway from the driveway, but a discreet platform lift had been installed along the side of the landing. Luca maneuvered onto it himself. Anna reached instinctively toward the controls, then stopped. Luca noticed. Learning. Slowly. Apparently that isn't the same as helpless. Anna gave him a look. The platform descended with a low electric hum, cold air entering through the open doors and carrying the smell of wet pavement. When Luca reached the driveway, Anna followed down the steps. His black sedan waited beneath the portico. The driver opened the rear door, but Luca transferred himself using the support handle, controlled and practiced. Anna stood several feet away. She did not rush toward him. When he was settled, Luca looked through the open door at her. "Yesterday you said you defended me." Anna's mouth tightened. "And you said that wasn't respect." "It wasn't." "I know." Luca waited. Anna looked directly at him. "I thought respecting you meant pretending the chair changed nothing. Then I thought kindness meant doing everything the chair made harder." She swallowed. Both versions were about what made me comfortable. Luca's fingers rested on the door frame. Anna continued, "I don't know how to get this right yet. Ask. Every time. Until you stop assuming." Anna nodded. Luca turned toward the driver, then paused. "There's a council meeting tomorrow at noon. You want me there?" "No." His eyes returned to hers. "I need you there." Anna went still. "Why?" Luca's expression hardened. "Because the people inside that room have started making decisions about what I can handle." The driver waited silently. Luca pulled the door halfway closed, then stopped. "Yesterday you learned. Not to rescue me, Anna." His voice dropped. "Tomorrow you're going to see what happens when men mistake a wheelchair for an empty throne." At 12 sharp, Luca rolled into the council room and found his own chair missing from the head of the table. 8 men sat beneath cold recessed lights, their dark suits reflected in polished walnut, while espresso and cigar smoke lingered in the warm air. At the far end, Dominic Vale occupied the position Luca had used for 15 years. Anna entered behind Luca and stopped near the door. Nobody offered an explanation. Luca looked at Dominic. "Move." Dominic remained seated. "We need to discuss how things operate while you recover." Luca's fingers rested lightly on his wheel rims. "You have 5 seconds." A silver clock ticked against the wall. Dominic stood on 4. Luca rolled into place without assistance. Anna took the empty seat beside him. Dominic remained standing. "Several captains believe the current structure puts too much pressure on you." Luca opened the folder waiting before him. "Which captains?" Silence. "Names." 3 men reluctantly raised their hands. Luca nodded once. "Good. Now we can stop hiding concern behind anonymous consensus." Dominic pushed a document across the table. "Temporary authority. 90 days. I handle field decisions. You remain final counsel." Luca read the first page. Paper whispered beneath his fingers. "Final counsel." He looked up. "You turn my organization into something I advise. Until you're stronger." Anna saw Luca's jaw tighten. She did not speak. This was his room. His answer. Dominic leaned forward. "Nobody doubts your mind, Luca. But there are appearances to consider." "Appearances?" "People need to see strength." Luca glanced at his wheelchair. "And you've decided they can't see it from 30 inches lower." Dominic exhaled. "Don't make this personal." Luca closed the document. "You moved my chair." The room went still. "You reassigned my approvals. You shortened my meetings. Now you're sitting at the head of my table explaining that none of this is personal." Dominic's face hardened. "Then prove us wrong." Luca reached into his leather portfolio and removed 3 sheets. "Gladly." He slid the first toward Carlo. "Bronx shipping costs. You approved a 12% increase Monday." Carlo looked down. Luca slid another toward Dominic. "Except the carrier offered 6% in writing." Dominic's eyes moved across the page. "We hadn't finalized, I did." At 8:10 this morning, Luca placed the 3rd sheet on the table. 3-year rate lock. 6%. Better insurance terms. No interruption. Carlo stared at him. Luca continued. Newark's revised schedule cuts another 8%. Manhattan's supplier dispute was settled yesterday. The contracts are signed. Dominic's mouth opened. Luca raised one finger. I'm not finished. Nobody moved. The heating system clicked off, leaving only the clock. Luca turned toward the three captains who had supported the transfer. You thought I couldn't handle decisions because you stopped bringing decisions to me. One man lowered his eyes. That ends today. Luca picked up Dominic's 90-day proposal and tore it once down the center. The sound was small, almost delicate. Every authority removed from this office returns immediately. Every meeting comes through me. Nobody adjusts my workload without asking me. Dominic planted both hands on the table. And if we refuse? Luca's gaze hardened. Then you're admitting this was never about protecting me. Anna watched Dominic straighten. For the first time, nobody glanced toward Luca's bodyguard. Nobody looked at the wheelchair. Every eye remained on Luca. Dominic slowly gathered his papers. You've changed. Luca's hands settled on the rims. No, your view of me changed. Dominic walked out. The other men remained seated. Carlo pushed the Bronx contract back toward Luca. 6%. 6. Carlo gave a reluctant nod. Good deal. Luca opened the next folder. Then we work. Anna remained silent until the meeting ended 90 minutes later. When the last man left, she looked at the empty chair Dominic had abandoned against the wall. You knew they were going to try this. I knew they might. And you still let them come. Luca turned toward her. I needed them to say it while I was in the room. Anna studied him. Why did you need me here? Luca rolled closer. Because you once looked at this chair and saw less of me too. Anna's lips parted. Luca continued, quieter. Today you watched 8 men make the same mistake. He turned toward the closed doors. Tomorrow night, those same men will be at the Carbone Foundation Gala. Anna's face tightened. Luca met her eyes. And this time, if someone decides to make my chair the joke, I want to know which Anna walks into that room. Edit Anna entered the Carbone Foundation Gala beside Luca, but by midnight, she would become the reason 200 guests stopped speaking. The Metropolitan Ballroom glowed beneath crystal chandeliers, gold lights spilling over tuxedos, black gowns, and white linen tables, while a jazz quartet threaded soft piano through the clink of champagne glasses. Luca wore a midnight tuxedo, his broad shoulders squared above the polished frame of his wheelchair. Anna walked at his left in a dark emerald dress. She did not touch his chair. She did not clear his path. When a waiter approached the entrance and reached automatically for Luca's wheel, Anna said nothing. Luca lifted one hand. I've got it. The waiter stepped aside. Luca crossed the threshold himself. Anna followed. That was the Anna he had asked to see. For the first hour, she held the line. When a donor asked her whether Luca was feeling strong enough to give his speech, Anna turned toward Luca. Ask him. When another guest pulled out a chair beside Luca as though making space for a caretaker, Anna simply sat somewhere else. Luca noticed each choice without commenting. Then Dominic Vale arrived. The room seemed to cool around him despite the heat of 200 bodies and burning candles. He approached their table carrying bourbon. Luca. Dominic. Dominic glanced at the wheelchair. Still making appearances. Luca's hand rested on the rim. Still confusing observation with conversation. Anna almost smiled. Dominic noticed. You've trained her well. Nobody trains Anna. Luca's answer came instantly. Something sharpened in her expression. Dominic walked away, but his words stayed behind. Later, after Luca delivered a precise 5-minute speech and received a standing ovation, Anna found herself surrounded by several old acquaintances near the bar. Bourbon, perfume, and polished wood scented the crowded corner. Someone praised Luca's composure. Another woman whispered, It must be exhausting for you, though. Anna frowned. For me, helping him with everything. I don't. Come on, Anna. We remember him before. A man beside them lifted his glass. He used to own every room he entered. Anna looked across the ballroom. Luca was speaking with 3 board members. Seated among standing men, he was still directing the conversation with one raised finger. Yet the old image of him flashed through her mind. 6 feet 2, crossing rooms like they belonged to him. He still does, she said. The man chuckled. Not exactly the same effect. Anna should have walked away. Instead, irritation and embarrassment collided with the bourbon warming her throat. Well, she said, he certainly can't loom over anyone anymore. A few people laughed. Luca heard it. His head turned. Anna saw him looking and should have stopped. She didn't. Maybe that's why he's become so obsessed with proving he's still in charge, she added. When a man loses the ability to stand over people, I suppose he finds other ways. The laughter vanished. Anna felt the silence before she understood it. Luca was rolling toward her. His tires whispered over the patterned carpet. Guests moved aside. The jazz quartet continued for several bars before the pianist noticed the room and let his hands fall from the keys. Anna placed her glass on the bar. Luca. He stopped before her. Was that supposed to be funny? I was responding to them. I asked about you. Anna glanced at the faces around them. Don't do this here. Luca's eyes hardened. You chose here. You know what I meant. Yes. His voice remained quiet. That's the problem. Anna folded her arms. Maybe I'm tired of pretending nothing was taken from you. Luca's fingers tightened around the rims. I have never asked you to pretend that. Then admit it changed you. It changed how I move. It changed more than that. Her voice rose despite herself. The Luca I knew never had to remind anyone. He was powerful. He walked into a room and people felt it. The words hung between them. Luca rolled closer. Anna's breathing shortened. He stopped inches away and looked directly up at her, forcing her to choose between his eyes and the chair. So that's what you've been measuring, he said. My manhood in footsteps. Anna's face went still. Luca leaned closer, his voice dropping until she alone could hear the first words. Then look at me, Anna. She did. And this time, there was nowhere left for either of them to hide. Edit Luca's next 6 words stripped every excuse from Anna's face. The ballroom had gone so quiet that the soft buzz of the chandeliers seemed louder than the guests. Melted candle wax scented the warm air, mixing with bourbon and perfume, while somewhere behind the closed service doors porcelain plates clicked against a metal cart. Luca remained inches from Anna, his hands resting on the black rims of his wheelchair. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. I'm still a man, Anna. Her arms slowly unfolded. Luca held her gaze. Not the man I was before the chair. Not the man you remember crossing a room on 2 legs. The man sitting in front of you. Anna's lips parted, but no answer came. Around them, 200 guests stood frozen beneath gold light. Dominic watched from beside the stage. Luca continued, each word measured. You think I'm trying to prove I still have power because I cannot stand over people anymore. Maybe ask yourself why standing over someone was ever your definition of power. Anna's fingers touched the cold marble edge of the bar. Luca, no. He rolled backward just enough to create space between them. You wanted me to admit the chair changed me. Fine. It did. His palm struck the wheel rim once, not violently, but firmly. Doors became narrower. Stairs became barriers. People started speaking slower to me, reaching for me, deciding for me. Men who once waited for my permission began discussing my future while I was sitting 3 feet away. Anna's eyes dropped. Look at me. She did. The worst part wasn't losing the ability to walk into a room, Lucas said. It was watching people I respected decide that. Something inside me must have disappeared with it. Anna swallowed. The jazz pianist sat motionless behind his instrument. Luca turned his chair slightly toward the crowd. And tonight, you gave them permission to laugh at that idea. Anna looked toward the faces surrounding them. The same faces that had laughed because she had laughed first. She reached for her bourbon, then pushed the untouched glass away. You're right. Luca's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he had expected another defense. Anna stepped away from the bar. I kept thinking I was learning because I stopped grabbing your chair. Because I asked before helping. Because I corrected other people. Her voice shook once, then steadied. But every time I got uncomfortable, I reached for the same weapon. Luca remained silent. I made you smaller so I wouldn't have to admit how wrong I'd been. Anna turned toward the guests. Several people looked away. Dominic did not. And all of you who laughed, she said, I gave you the excuse. That was mine. Luca's hand tightened on one rim. Anna faced him again. I mocked the one thing you never asked me to ignore. I confused your body with your worth. She drew a slow breath. I'm sorry, Luca. Not because the joke landed badly. Because it was cruel. The room stayed silent. Luca looked at her for several seconds. Then he turned toward the stage. We're leaving. Anna blinked. Luca, an apology doesn't purchase forgiveness. He began rolling through the crowd. Nobody blocked his path now. Nobody reached for his chair. Anna watched him move beneath the chandeliers until Dominic stepped into Luca's way. Running from your own gala? Luca stopped. Dominic smiled thinly. Maybe Anna finally said what everyone else has been too polite to say. Anna moved before anyone else could react. Her heels struck the marble sharply as she crossed the floor, and stopped beside Luca, not in front of him. Beside him. Then say it yourself, she told Dominic. Look him in the eyes and say exactly what you think he lost. Dominic's smile disappeared. Luca looked from Dominic to Anna. She did not speak for him. She simply waited. And for the first time that night, the power in the room shifted without Luca moving an inch. Dominic had one chance to answer Luca, and the entire ballroom waited to hear whether he dared. The chandeliers cast hard gold across Dominic's face, while the air smelled of candle wax, bourbon, and cooling coffee. Anna stood beside Luca, close enough to hear the faint leather creak beneath his hand as his fingers settled around the wheel rim, but she did not touch him. Dominic looked down at Luca. You want me to say it? Luca's voice stayed level. Anna asked you a question. Dominic glanced around the ballroom. Fine. People followed you because you were untouchable. You walked into a room, and everyone knew exactly who was in charge. His eyes dropped deliberately toward the wheelchair. Now they see something else. A glass clicked against a table somewhere behind Anna. Nobody laughed. Luca tilted his head. What do they see? Dominic hesitated. Weakness. Anna's jaw tightened, but she remained silent. Luca rolled forward until barely 3 feet separated them. Then you learned nothing yesterday. Dominic gave a thin smile. Yesterday you proved you can negotiate contracts. No. Yesterday, I gave you an opportunity to remember who makes decisions. Luca turned toward the captains gathered near the stage. Carlo met his eyes first. Then another man did. Then another. Luca spoke without raising his voice. Anyone here who believes Dominic should lead because I use this chair can leave with him tonight. The ballroom became perfectly still. Dominic looked toward Carlo. Carlo placed his champagne glass on a passing tray and stepped toward Luca. I questioned you yesterday. He paused. I was wrong. Another captain nodded. So was I. Dominic's smile disappeared. Luca looked back at him. There's your answer. Dominic's face hardened. You'd throw away 15 years over this? No, Luca's hand moved once across the wheel rim. You threw them away when you mistook accommodation for surrender. Dominic stared at him, then turned and walked toward the ballroom doors. No bodyguard escorted him. No threat followed him. The crowd simply opened a path, and the heavy doors closed behind him with a dull wooden thud. Luca looked toward the musicians. Play. The pianist hesitated, then touched the keys. A slow melody returned to the room. Conversations followed cautiously. Anna remained beside Luca. You didn't need me to defend you. No, you never did. Luca turned toward her. Now you understand. Anna nodded. I think I finally do. She looked at the dance floor where couples moved beneath amber light, then back at Luca. What I said tonight, I heard it. I know. She rubbed her thumb against the smooth edge of her bracelet. I can't undo it. No, and I'm not asking you to pretend it didn't happen. Luca studied her. Anna continued. I kept looking at the chair and seeing what you lost. I should have been looking at you and seeing what remained. Luca's expression softened by a fraction. Not remained. Anna waited. Changed, he said. There's a difference. She nodded slowly. Changed. A server approached carrying champagne, paused, and looked directly at Luca. Would you like one, sir? Luca took a glass. Thank you. The server turned to Anna. She declined. When he walked away, Luca noticed her watching the dance floor again. What? Nothing. Anna. She smiled faintly. I was thinking about how many things I assumed you couldn't do without ever asking. Luca followed her gaze toward the dancers. Some things I can't. I know. She looked back at him. That doesn't make you less. Luca lifted his glass. Careful. You're becoming reasonable. A small laugh escaped her. This time, it was not at him. Luca watched her for a moment, then extended his hand. Anna stared at it. What? You wanted to dance? I didn't say that. Your face did. Anna looked toward the floor, then at his hand. How? Luca's eyebrow rose. You could ask instead of assuming. Anna laughed again, softer now, and placed her hand in his. Luca rolled onto the edge of the dance floor while Anna moved beside him, matching the controlled turns of his chair instead of forcing him to match her steps. Gold light moved across the polished wheels. The music rose. Nobody stared for long, and when Anna finally looked down, she did not see a broken man beneath her. She saw Luca Carbone looking back, exactly where his dignity had been all along.